Hello, this is Seth Morris, Liberty Law Group. For the first video to our Facebook page, I decided to just take, this really small thing you probably haven't heard about, but that is the indictment of President Trump. And so what we're going to do here today is really just talk about what is a federal indictment and what does this process look like moving forward. At Liberty Law, we're not in the business of sitting online and spewing political opinions and getting into fights with strangers in the comment section. We're in the business of being trial lawyers. So I'm going to talk to you about what I know about the federal system from having represented people and taking cases to trial and receiving acquittals. So what is a federal indictment, right? So the federal indictment is a piece of paper that just has what are the charges you're facing. So before we get to actually having this physical piece of paper and having a named defendant and a court date, it begins with an investigation. And sometimes you know that you're under investigation. A lot of times we see this with our white collar stuff, right? The financial stuff, you may notice that your bank accounts are being seized, your email that may have a subpoena and you have to turn over information. But like a lot of the drug cases and stuff like that, that involve snitches and stuff like that, you have no idea that you're under investigation at all. So this investigation you may or may not be aware of that's ongoing, but once that is concluded or to the point where a prosecutor feels that they have enough information, then they summon a grand jury. A grand jury is 16 to 23 members of the community, and at this hearing, they present their evidence. So they may call witnesses, they present enough evidence that they think gives an outline of their case and kind of explains what's going on. Unlike a criminal case, the verdict in a grand jury does not have to be unanimous, right? So of these 16 to 23 members in a grand jury, only 12 have to feel that there's enough evidence to move forward, right? So if this was an actual trial and you don't get a unanimous verdict, then you have what's called a hung jury. In a grand jury situation, if you have 12 or more people, then the case moves forward. They notify the defendant that charges are pending, and then you schedule your first court date. And generally speaking, so how it works in Nebraska is your initial appearance, you're going to have two things. So you're going to enter a plea. Most people almost always enter a not guilty plea at this phase, so that way you can see the evidence that's against you. The second thing that's going to be done is they're going to discuss whether you're eligible for bail or pretrial release, or whatever they call it in the jurisdictions where Trump is being indicted. And so once they take up these issues, then you begin the discovery phase of the case. And this is where you get into the meat and potatoes of what is the government's case against you, what is the evidence, who are the witnesses, how strong or weak do you feel that this case is. And this is something that both the defense and the prosecution have to participate in. It's not like TV. You don't just show up and say, I have no idea who's going to be here or what they're going to say. Right? So you have police reports, you have witness statements, you may have any evidence that there could be, right? So there's multiple charges in multiple jurisdictions. I could spend an hour talking about what all the evidence could be. But Trump's lawyers are going to be made aware of what this evidence is, and they will also have to turn over their exculpatory evidence to the government as well, right? So this process can sometimes be pretty quick. Sometimes in more complicated cases, it can drag out for a while. There's kind of two obvious strategies for President Trump here. The first is you try to bulldoze your way through this and you get a trial date as soon as you can to put this behind you. The second one is you drag this out as long as you can so you continue to campaign and take care of matters that you would feel are more pressing. So I'm not his lawyer. I'm not involved in this case. I have no idea what the evidence is or isn't. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what and how they navigate this process. And so as the discovery is being exchanged, as this is going on, generally in most criminal cases, there's plea negotiations. I'm not sure if there's going to be any or not in this case. Generally, there's two ways to resolve a case. The most two common are you either enter a plea agreement or you take it to trial. And so if you enter a plea, then you have your sentencing and you have potentially an appeal based on that sentence. If you go to trial, then you have trial. If you're acquitted, you walk out of the courtroom. If you're found guilty, then you have to go through the sentencing and then the appeal phase. So this process is something, it's going to be in the media a lot. There's a lot of people that say a lot of things and don't know much. But hopefully this video was educational and informative. We handle a lot of federal cases here at Liberty Law. If you or a loved one finds yourself in need, give me a call, 402-865-0501. Thank you.